Georgia Tech, Georgia was everything right and wrong with college football overtime. They call the Georgia Tech rivalry clean, old-fashioned hate, and it seems finally on Friday everyone found something to hate together: the absurdity of college football's current overtime rules. The big story from the game is that Georgia erased a 17-0 deficit after halftime and prevailed 44-42. After 8 overtime periods to bolster the Bulldogs' college football playoff resume ahead of the SEC championship game. The subplot is just how drawn out the overtime process was, to say little of some questionable refereeing that got the game to overtime. No one is arguing the overtimes weren't thrilling, but they could have taken much less time to complete. The current overtime system in college football begins with each team alternating attempts to score from their opponent's 25-yard line. If neither team scores or the game remains tied following the period, it moves to a second overtime, during which any team that scores is required to go for two. If there is still no winner, the teams compete in dueling two-point conversions attempts. Think of it like in shootout in hockey at that point. The problem is just how much time was elapsing between each play. As the overtimes dragged on, play was halted after each overtime to switch sides of the field. Then there would inevitably another pause for a team to use its one time out of the overtime. It was all a bit much. Those were the gripes, but don't let it, entirely, overshadow the epic touchdowns and drops the overtimes produced. When the teams actually got to run plays, the sport showcased what it gets right about overtime: the opportunity to see a score on every snap. See how much more fun that is to watch without timeouts and commercial breaks. Hopefully the NCAA agrees and fixes some of this madness for next season.